Gap is a product that we sell, an insurance product, that pays off the remaining balance on a loan that is not covered by the customer's primary insurance company. And the first thing you have to do is convince the customer that your insurance company will not pay off the entire car, especially if it has an upside down inverted equity value. It only covers the book value of the vehicle. So, Mr. Customer, our average Gap claim today is more than $7,500. Now, you can check in your market and see if it's $7,500, $8,500, $6,000, whatever the number is. But nationwide, it's about $7,500. And when you look at that, I was in a dealership in Ohio here a couple years ago. And I had taught the F&I class, and I'm sitting in the F&I office with the F&I manager. Now, I'm sitting in back of the F&I manager. Believe it or not, this particular manager had an office big enough for 2 desks. I know some of you working out of a little closet that's 8 by 8. You wonder how that happened, but no, this particular dealership had a pretty large office. So I'm sitting behind the F&I manager, and I'm going to say his name was Wally, and Wally is presenting. And I'm sitting back there acting like I'm doing paperwork, and I'm listening to his presentation actually. And the consumer comes in, and the first thing she says, "I'm not buying anything you're selling, no matter what you say. I'm not buying any of this." So I've had many customers make that announcement, and I've still ended up selling them, persuading them, finesse, to buying my products. So Wally goes through his complete pre-rehearsed routine on why she needs to buy this. And she's firm, she's steadfast. "Wally, I told you in advance I'm not buying any of this." At that point, I raised my head up. Now bear in mind, I'm wearing a suit, and I had a tie on that day. I'm wearing a suit with a tie and wearing a baseball hat. Everybody in the dealership's wearing polo shirts. It's obvious that I'm something different. A guy with a baseball hat and a suit, when everybody else in the dealership is dressed down, I'm dressed to the hilt. I said, "Martha," or whatever her name was, I said, "Martha, my name's Jim Ziegler. I'm a public relations consultant from Atlanta, Georgia. And I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. You know, I can agree that you don't need the environmental package. Your car is garaged, and you live in a pretty nice neighborhood. You know, I agree that you probably don't need that product. But let me ask you a question. Do you have $25 in your purse right now?" And she said, "Well, certainly I have $25 in my purse." I said, "Truthfully, 3 days from now, you will probably have spent that $25, and you probably couldn't even tell me what you did with it. Insignificant money, trivial money, $25. You might have given it to your grandkids to put in quarters in the video machines at Chuck E. Cheese's. You don't know where that money went." "Well, yeah, that's true." I said, "Now, Martha, let me ask you another question. Do you have $7,500? Do you have $7,500 cash that you can lay hands on right now without selling something or borrowing something?" "Well," she said, "No, I don't." I said, "Yeah, I noticed you had with the down payment was a little bit of a struggle for you. So I know you probably don't have $7,500 in fluid cash. You could probably raise that much if you had to, but you don't have it." She said, "No, I don't." I said, "Well, our average Gap claim, our guaranteed asset protection plan, our average Gap claim is over $7,500. Now, if you had a total wreck or a theft or something that a Gap claim would apply to, the amount your insurance company would not pay would probably be as much as $7,500 on a brand new car. That would be a catastrophic event in your life, coming at you totally out of the blue. You wouldn't be aware of it. You wouldn't be ready for it. So, in other words, a $7,500 right now bill, and by the way, if you don't pay off the Gap, we can't finance you another car. So it's a total disruption of your life. It would be a catastrophic event financially. Certainly high distress." "Well, yeah." I said, "But that $25, the Gap costs a lot less than that. Trivial money. If you bought the Gap, it would be included in your contract. It would be a small, known, manageable amount. Listen to my word tracking here. A small, known, manageable amount. Something you're prepared for, something that you could handle, as opposed to a catastrophic amount coming at you when you least expect it and totally just disrupting your life. And the funny thing was, her husband, I probably went on for about 2 or 3, 4 minutes longer explaining it to her, but that's in essence what I told her. Her husband chimes in. I think we ought to get that. Now, Wally had done his best pre-rehearsed speech he had learned in another F&I school. And the funny thing was, I had just taught him that word track that morning, but he didn't use it. None of what I teach works if you don't use it. I don't know who it was, said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Well, that's what I'm saying. More F&I is not sold because you didn't go for it. More F&I is not sold because the manager chickened out than is ever not sold because the customer said no. In other words, I have dealt with thousands of finance managers through the years. I've watched the evolution of F&I. Now we're using iPads, we're using DocuPads built into the desk, we're using technology presentations as well as sheet of paper presentations. I don't care how you're selling it, you still need to know the word tracks to explain the product. When I was in Dale Carnegie years ago, and they said, create a word picture of your client using your product, enjoying your product, and benefiting from your product. And that always stuck in my head. Create a word picture of your client using, enjoying, and benefiting from your. You know, when you're selling a service contract or you're selling a gap contract, you're selling a $2,500 piece of paper. Unless you can make them visualize a service contract and what it benefits them using it, benefiting from it, you're never going to sell it. Create a word picture. You know, pictures happen in one unique part of the brain, and people think in pictures. People don't often think in words, they think in visuals. So if you can get to the customer's visual mind and make them see themselves using, enjoying, benefiting from this product, or solving their pain. Now, one thing about Gap, people say, well, Mr. Ziegler, my insurance company offers the Gap product. I can buy Gap product a lot cheaper from my insurance company than I can buy it from you. Now, I have a unique Ziegler comeback word track for that that I invented a couple years back, and it's gotten around the country. You may have heard it. But understand, I created this word track. I was talking to Joe Calla earlier today, and we're laughing about, in the last 42 years that I've been in the car business, I have created a lot of things that have become standard practice. People say, well, Mr. Ziegler, I've heard that word track before. I say, yeah, it went around. I created it. I'm really proud that some of the things that I've created have gone around the industry and become standard practice. Here comes the word track. Well, Mr. Ziegler, I can buy Gap from my insurance company. And I come back and say, well, why would you create a conflict of interest for your insurance company? What do you mean? Well, what I mean is, if you buy Gap from your primary insurance company that insures your car, and let's say that you had a horrific accident that should be a total wreck. I mean, they should total it and just pay you the entire amount. But they're also carrying your Gap. Now they got to make a decision. Is it cheaper to repair the damaged car that should be totaled because the Gap claim would be higher than the repair? So now you've created a quandary, a conflict of interest. Do they pay the higher Gap claim, or do they repair the car because it's cheaper and put you back in an unsafe vehicle? Don't create a conflict of interest for your insurance company by buying your Gap from your initial insurance provider. That makes no sense whatsoever. Well, Mr. Ziegler, I haven't had a wreck in years. I'm an extremely safe driver. Have you heard that? Well, yeah, but every wreck has two people involved, usually. And no matter how good a driver you are, if somebody else hits you because they're not as good a driver as you, you still got the claim, especially if you're in a no-fault state. Think about that. There's a possibility that any vehicle's value can fluctuate every month. A new book comes out. Well, we say book, I mean, it's on the computer today, but still, every month the value of a used car drops. Every week, the value of a used car drops. And some of them fluctuate a lot more than others. You know, you got to understand that it's a negative equity from the moment you drive it off the lot. I don't think anybody wakes up that day and thinks they're going to have a wreck. And, well, Mr. Ziegler, I live in a really nice neighborhood. Nobody steals cars here. What are you talking about? You know, people don't steal cars in the hood. They steal cars where nice cars are. And, you know, Mr. Customer, if you have a gap claim, it's generally going to be a substantial amount. Very, very few gap claims are small amounts. If you have a gap claim, it's going to save your life economically. I mean, it's going to cause it's going to eliminate a lot of disruption in your life. It's going to cause everything to go a lot smoother for you. Gap is a product that I would buy myself. Matter of fact, I would not have a loan on a car without the Gap product. So as an F&I manager, as a finance manager, I don't like the term business manager. I'd rather be the financial director, the financial manager than the business manager. I met the business manager in your dealership. Person in the back office or bad disposition. I'm not the business manager. So anyway, as the finance manager, you know, I would buy Gap myself. It should be the easiest product you sell. It should be the absolute easiest sale in the office. And if the customer makes a claim, it's more valuable than anything else you sell in the office. The service contract claims are generally $850 or less. I don't tell consumers that, but you know, a service contract is, you know, very few engines today go bad. I mean, that's why they can put a 100,000 mile factory warranty on them. Powertrains are pretty solid today. So the highest repair cost in a car failing today is the technology things. Look at quartz crystal components. So once again, Gap is the best product we sell. You don't have a whole lot of objections on Gap. So I hope this helped.